ब्रेकपछि पुनः स्वागत छ। यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ गुड मर्निङ नेपालमा कान्तिपुर टेलिभिजन हेरिनु भएको छ र ब्रेकमा जानुभन्दा अगाडि मैले अघि नै भनेको थिएँ कि अन्तर्देशीय शिक्षा अथवा ट्रान्सनेसनल एजुकेसनको बारेमा आज हामी कुराकानी गर्छौँ भनेर र विशेष गरी स्वदेशमै रहेर डिग्री हासिल गर्ने सिप सिक्ने अथवा शिक्षा लिने कामलाई TNE भन्छ, ट्रान्सनेसनल एजुकेसन भनेर भनिन्छ। नेपालको हकमा यो खास त्यति धेरै चर्चामा छैन, तर अन्य क्षेत्र विशेष गरी साउथ एसियाको कुराकानी गर्ने भने अरू देशहरूमा पनि यो राम्रो भइरहेको छ। र आज हामी कुराकानी गर्छौँ यो TNE भनेको के हो, यसले नेपालको सस्टेनेबल डेभलपमेन्ट गोलमा कहाँनिर सहयोग पुर्याउँछ अथवा हामी जुन खालको इन्क्लुसिभ एजुकेसनको बारेमा पनि कुराकानी गर्छौँ त्यसलाई कहाँनिर सहयोग पुर्याउन सक्छ भन्ने बारेमा यो क्षेत्रका जानकार उहाँ हुनुहुन्छ साल्वाडोर लोपेज कार्बाजाल र उहाँ यो ब्रिटिस काउन्सिलको साउथ एसिया रिजनल डाइरेक्टर एजुकेसन हुनुहुन्छ। गुड मर्निङ कार्बाजाल, साल्वाडोर, नमस्ते and warm welcome to our studio.
Namaste, namaste. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now talking about TNE, Nepali, mainly the youth and the one who are working in education sector, they might also not know what TNE stands for. So could you please elaborate what TNE is and why this is important in context of Nepal?
Of course. So TNE, transnational education, is a fairly new concept in the world of education. However, that doesn't mean that what happens in TNE is new. It's been there for a long time. Nepal has been doing TNE for quite a long time as well, and today there's quite a lot of TNE happening in Nepal. So TNE in a nutshell is providing a degree in another country, right? Okay. So an institution, a university, is providing a degree in a different country where the institution is from. So for example, today here in Nepal, there's around 15,000 students every year studying a degree from the UK, from a UK institution. And there's about 12,000 studying a degree from Malaysia, from a Malaysian institution, and about 3,000 from Thailand, from Thai institutions. So there's around 30,000 students every year in Nepal studying foreign degrees, but here. They don't have to get that degree in those countries, they do it here. That's pretty much what TNE is.
But you know, in context of Nepal, how TNE can help to the aspiring youth of Nepal to get degree internationally? Because in Nepal, what we have seen is, you know, people, they tend to go to the university abroad rather than studying in Nepal. So how can we, you know, cope these kind of things? Or why TNE matters in context of Nepal?
I mean, this is we could spend hours talking about this, but every single day in the airport is full with young people leaving the country, right? There's a big aspiration for getting a foreign degree. And I think in the media, you know, probably you have reported about this. There's many cases of Nepali students abroad having a very hard time, hard life, even going to the extent of committing suicide. There's a really, really big pressure on them to be successful, to earn money, to finish a degree, to provide for their families, to, you know, to send money back to Nepal and so on. I totally understand that interest in getting quality education because it's their life. You know, it's providing the skills that they need to have a fulfilling life. Transnational education is trying to address that. You know, it could be an avenue to ensure that that quality education is provided here and they don't have to travel abroad. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that is one of the ways in which it could help to support those young people here in Nepal.
Okay, now talking about Nepali students, are Nepali students able to access the UK university in context of TNE very easily, or it's very hard to get, you know, the place or seat over there?
Yeah, I mean, this is happening not only in Nepal, but across South Asia. There is a really, really big challenge, depending on the country, huge challenge of access. There's much more students that need education than the seats that are available for them, right? And that happens in every country in South Asia. India, for example, in the next 5 years, by 2030, they need to provide education for 138 million students. So this is like 4 Nepals, right? So it's huge. Bangladesh, Pakistan, obviously not a similar scale, but still the challenge is massive. Nepal is the same, different scale, much smaller scale, but it's the same. There is not enough seats for the amount of students that leave higher secondary education and they want to go into higher education or any other form of education like technical, vocational. So there is a problem with access. Now, expanding that today through transnational education could be, again, an avenue to provide more options and more opportunities for students to then say, okay, I would like to go here, then I have a space. Because public education, public universities are maxed out today. So there would need to be obviously a really big investment from governments to provide more seats, something that's not going to happen overnight. So again, TNE could become an alternative to provide access for those students. And today, as I was saying, there is already quite a lot of students taking TNE degrees. The appetite is growing. You know, universities from around the world are looking at Nepal and saying, hey, you know, this is a place where there is opportunity. There is quality local institutions who to partner with so we can create joint programs. It's an amazing place to live. I live here, and so I can vouch for that. But it's also a place where you can attract students from different countries, right? You can attract students from India, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, and then bring them to take a course from a UK university or a foreign university in here.
So you have also talked about the biggest advantage of pursuing TNE education in Nepal, but how how to going to physically to abroad, and how is different TNE and going abroad physically? How you differentiate the things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having an experience in a foreign campus will always be its own thing, right? You will never be able to replace or duplicate exactly that, because in a foreign country you are in a society, right? You're never going to have everything. However, in terms of the education, right, the degree and the classes and the teaching and the content and the skills that you are developed, there's a really big focus from universities to make sure that that is there.
That remains same.
Yes. Yeah. Same or to a similar standard. It will never be same again because no, and this is not a bad thing. It will never be same because when you deliver it here, you need to contextualize, right? And you need to make it pertinent to a Nepali context. So this is where the local institution partnering up with a foreign institution becomes super important, because then you co-create something that is unique to the Nepali context, that the student can come out of that degree and say, actually, I can contribute to this. Either I can be employed, or I can create my own company, or, you know, it's got avenues. So yeah, that's super important in TNE.
Education is considered as, it's no longer confined with the borders. So it's a kind of education without borders kind of things. Can we say that also? TNE?
I think so. I think that is the whole purpose. You see, today's world is, even though obviously we have borders and some leaders are trying to make those borders even more harder, the challenges of today are global. We live in a very globalized society. Trade, we're importing things all the time. I am ordering something in Daraz today, and 3 days later it's coming from China, straight from the warehouse in China, in the touch of a button. COVID, global pandemic, didn't go for borders. It just went everywhere, right? So this climate change, climate change is affecting everyone. We were just talking before we started today about rain and this winter, which was very, very atypical in Nepal. Same is happening everywhere. Same is happening in Mexico right now. I'm having chats with my mom, and she's saying it's the weirdest rains in the whole world. So these challenges are common to all the countries. What we need as a solution, to provide solutions for those challenges, needs to also be global. So collaboration between education institutions, it's a good thing, because then you're exchanging views, you're comparing scenarios, you're providing the skills for the students to work in a globalized world.
In Nepal, we also talk about when taking about the degree from the universities abroad. We also there is a main challenge about the equivalent.
Yes.
Yeah. So does the TNE has something to pursue about there is no need of equivalency or something like that, or do they have to go for another equivalent exam after they got degree from the?
Yeah, this varies from country to country. So, for example, India recently, very recently, released some guidelines, same as Pakistan. They released some guidelines for institutions to operate. And if you comply with those guidelines, then your degree, the degree that goes to that student, is fully recognized. Okay. You don't need to do anything else. There are other countries where you still need to do an additional process to get it certified by a local institution. In terms of employability, it really, the employer, especially the private sector, will value, the degree that you're getting, not necessarily if it's stamped by a local institution or not. So I would say, it varies from country to country. Today in Nepal, there are institutions, there is a mechanism in which the government issued licenses, licenses to operate TNE degrees. Anyone under a license, they don't need to do anything else.
Okay.
So it's fully certified, and there's not a problem of equivalence. Anything apart from that would need to go through a process of equivalence.
So how is TNE different from the distance learning or or kind of the digital learning?
Yeah, so transnational education is a concept that encompasses mainly three big types.
The key features.
Yeah, so maybe three types of doing TNE. One is when you come and set up a branch campus. You build a whole thing. And it's as if the university is present in the country. They're basically doing everything in country. You fly in teachers, and then you do everything. That is currently, for example, happening in India, growing a lot. So the Indian government is giving licenses to UK universities and universities from around the world to set up branch campuses because, again, of the challenge, right? The second way of doing TNE is collaborative. Franchise, dual degrees, joint degrees. That one is when a foreign institution gets together with a local institution, and between the two, they create a joint program. And then that program is delivered to the student. That one is where the majority of TNE happens, by the way, those type of arrangements. And the third one is online and distance education. So it's when the university is in their country and they're providing everything digitally for the student anywhere. Doesn't need to be in Kathmandu, could be in Terai region.
Or remote areas also.
Remote areas, as long as they have internet, which in Nepal it's amazing how remote areas have 4G. They can be doing
we'll talk about Nepal experience later on also, Mr. Salvador.
They can be doing a TNE degree from the comfort of Langtang region.
So basically talking about you talk about the different kinds of models of TNE. So in talking about the context of Nepal, what model suits Nepal, or what are the really very good model for Nepal in context of implementing TNE in nation?
Well,
all three are good.
I mean, each one has its own advantages. Obviously, everybody would like to see the branch campuses because they're big, visible, and they provide infrastructure as well. But they are very hard to operate because it's a big investment. You're asking an institution to invest millions and millions of dollars to create something. That doesn't happen easily. That only happens after after there is a very, very long process. I think the easiest way to do TNE is either through a collaborative approach. For me, that is the most ideal because, again, as I was telling you, that is where the local institution supports the foreign institution co-create. and create something that is applicable and pertinent to the context. That for me would be the most ideal. The problem with that is also most of the TNE today, not only in Nepal but across the world, usually is in big cities. You know, it's your capital cities, or you know, at the moment Pokhara. That's as far as it gets. So, and you would understand this, in Nepal there's a very, very big population that is outside those two big cities, right? That it's in remote areas that wouldn't have access, and they wouldn't be able to travel to Pokhara or Kathmandu. So distance education could be one of the big avenues to provide access everywhere.
Okay. Now, in this context, do you see the different universities or college or local college in Nepal to take benefit from the TNE? Are they interested on TNE?
Completely, completely. Yeah. We've been having discussions with many, and yeah, we've been discussing the value of TNE, especially for the local institution. There's quite a lot of exchange. When you enter into an agreement, usually there needs to be an exchange of teachers. Those are the ones that are going to be
providing education to
the education, right? And usually there's exchange. So there would be mobility. Teachers would come, teachers would go, and they would have an opportunity to experience the other side. There were, in the case of the UK, again, there are many countries that are doing TNE. In the case of the UK, there's a very strong focus on quality assurance. That means that the institution is putting a lot of effort in ensuring that the teachers are often getting refreshed on the knowledge, on the techniques, on the methodologies. And that would extend to the local institution as well, so the teachers in that. So there would be a lot of training, and upskill in the job. And then obviously there is an element of TNE today, the majority is charged, so there is a fee for it. And even though it's not the fee that you would pay when you do a foreign degree, which would be quite high. For example, in the UK, the average for a foreign degree is around 15,000 to 20,000 pounds a year. The average,
that's quite a lot,
It's quite a lot. The average for a degree here in Nepal would be between 1,000 to 2,000 pounds.
Same degree.
Same degree. So it's a tenth of the cost. So it comes with a cost, and it allows the local institution to then create an infrastructure and being able to provide that quality education at a much lower price than what you would have done.
Talking about the best practices, people, they give example of Malaysia and Sri Lanka. So how can Nepal further expand and diversify the TNE education in Nepal in context with having getting the experience, better experience from Sri Lanka or Malaysia? Can we also incorporate the same model in Nepal?
Well, I mean, again, it's all about context, right? So Sri Lanka and Malaysia both started decades ago.
Decade long.
Even more, so a couple of decades. And the government in both countries created an approach to facilitate the existence of this. So, for example, in Sri Lanka, they said zero regulation to setting up something. And then you need to comply with the quality assurance, but in terms of setting up, go ahead and do it. And that allowed for institutions to mushroom. Suddenly out of the blue, there were a lot of institutions, and then they started competing. So it was like a free market approach. Malaysia, on the other side, they were much more driven and directive, and the government said, okay, we want you to come, but we want campuses to be based in here, and we're going to provide you with incentives. We're going to give you land, we're going to give you tax incentives, we're going to be... So it was a much more directive approach. Both ended up having a lot of TNE in them. So Nepal obviously needs to decide what they want to do and what process. At the moment, it has come to a point where there's a lot. So this is the point I want to make is, Nepal is not starting from scratch. Nepal is already doing quite a lot of TNE, and it's actually quite consolidated. So for me, it's about how does the Nepal government in particular, and the local institutions, the private sector, and the public sector, the public institutions, how do they take advantage of what's there, and potentially create new ways to facilitate more TNE, take it to the next level, because it's not starting from scratch. You compare it to India. India today has only 15,000 students doing TNE, half of Nepal, for a country the size of India. You know, it's crazy. Pakistan, 11,000. Bangladesh, 2,000. So nothing, right? So Nepal today is quite consolidated. So I would say it's got all the elements to create a very, very successful ecosystem.
As you stated that there is a big opportunity in TNE in context of Nepal, and what should students and institutions be most excited about TNE while talking about Nepal? Then? What excites them?
What excites them? Well, I mean, I think from a personal perspective, the opportunity to be in Nepal and be based out of Nepal, it's very attractive, of course. It's got all the elements of geography. You know, you are in an amazing place, you know, with beautiful mountains and great people. You are close to some of the largest education markets in the world. Yeah. You're next to China, you're next to India, where you have huge youth populations that need or require an education. And that they will go somewhere. You know, every single year, we were talking about how many Nepalis leave the country. In India, there's about 120,000 students leaving India, or going, you know, for studies abroad every year. Huge. That's a lot of students. So if they're going to pay to go to the UK or the US or Canada, where Trump is making it very difficult for them, they might as well just come across the border with no visa, with Indian rupees, and come to Nepal. That is, for example, something that Sri Lanka is taking advantage of. You know, they said, okay, we have very strong institutions, let's become a hub. Yeah.
We also are trying to become an education hub through TNE also. And in the intro part also, I've spoken about the sustainable development goal that Nepal is aiming. So how can TNE help to, you know, achieve sustainable goal? And in context of, we talk about the inclusive education.
Yeah.
Does this TNE also help that two things, sustainable development goal and inclusive education?
Completely, completely. So SDG 4 is you know, precisely allowing the young people to access the right skills, the right knowledge, the right experience to have a fulfilling life, right? And to, you know, earn and have a comfortable life. That is exactly what TNE is trying to do. So it goes hand in hand. And that is exactly as well what the governments, again, across South Asia, across the world, are trying to do. So it shouldn't be seen as a competition. On the contrary, I think TNE is just another avenue to be able to provide that quality education, that it's global in nature, that it's allowing you to tap into global experiences, and that it's also allowing for the global experiences to witness Nepal and to work with Nepal and to develop solutions for what Nepal today is going through.
हामी आज TNE को बारेमा कुराकानी गरेका छौं अन्तर्देशीय शिक्षा अथवा ट्रान्सनेशनल एजुकेसन जसलाई भन्ने गरिन्छ कि विदेशको डिग्री र सिपलाई आफ्नो देशमै बसेर अझ विदेश भन्दा कम पैसा खर्च गरेर कसरी लिन सकिन्छ भन्ने बारेको यो छलफल हामी जारी राख्ने छौं र यो छलफल हुनुहुन्छ साल्वाडोर लोपेज कार्बाजाल रिजनल डाइरेक्टर एजुकेसन साउथ एसिया ब्रिटिश काउन्सिल अहिले भने हामी छोटो ब्रेक लिन्छौं ब्रेकपछि फेरि अब उहाँका बारेमा कुराकानी गर्छौं किनभने उहाँ 3 वर्षदेखि नेपालमा हुनुहुन्छ नेपालका धेरै ठाउँ घुम्नु भएको छ नेपाली संगीतलाई पनि नजिकबाट उहाँले सुन्नुहुन्छ कहिलेकाहीँ गुनगुनाउनु पनि हुन्छ यी यावत कुराहरू हामी गर्ने छौं अहिले लाइदिँदैछ छोटो ब्रेक तपाई कान्तिपुर टेलिभिजन हेर्दै गर्नु होला नाउ ब्रेक पछि फेरि स्वागत छ यहाँ हुन्छ गुड मर्निङ नेपालमा र आज हामीले अघि नै भनिसकेका छौं कि अन्तर्देशीय शिक्षाका बारेमा कुराकानी गरेका छौं र ब्रिटिश काउन्सिलले अब यो ट्रान्सनेशनल एजुकेसन नेपालमा सम्भावना देखेर अब अघि नै हामीले कुराकानी गरिसक्यौं कि भारतमा भन्दा बढी यसको संख्या चाहिँ विदेशमा हैन कि विदेशी डिग्री नेपालमै बसेर लिने संख्या चाहिँ नेपाली स्टुडेन्टको बढी छ भनेर हामीले कुराकानी गरेका छौं र कुराकानीमा हुनुहुन्छ साल्वाडोर लोपेज कार्बाजाल उहाँ रिजनल डाइरेक्टर एजुकेसन साउथ एसिया ब्रिटिश काउन्सिलको हुनुहुन्छ मिस्टर साल्वाडोर वेलकम वन्स अगेन
Thank you. Thank you.
So talking about the role of British Council in helping Nepal to achieve what they aim for in regards with TNE. So what British Council is exactly doing in TNE and in the expansion of TNE in Nepal?
Yeah. So the British Council is a cultural relations organization. You know, it's trying to connect the UK with, in this case, Nepal. Across a number of areas, but education is at the core of everything that the British Council does. And transnational education in particular is one of the key priorities. It's very similar, I mean, the mission of what the British Council is doing in Nepal is very similar to what we were discussing before the break. Our aim is to provide young people with the necessary skills to be successful in life. And we're working in various programs around all of Nepal, from working with the government to improve multilingual policies, so they can reach people from different ethnic backgrounds. That they come and they don't necessarily speak only Nepali; okay. They have different languages. So we're trying to support the multilingual policy. We're also working with civil society organizations, especially young civil society organizations that are supporting projects in the ground so the young people can effect change in Nepal. We're also supporting education institutions, connecting them to Nepali institutions so they can develop these partnerships. So this is where the British Council has an interest in making sure that there's more. Yeah. That there's more opportunities for Nepali young students, not only in the UK, because again, that is very expensive, it's a whole thing, but in here as well. And one of the key highlights is we're trying to create an ecosystem. Of course, the British Council would like to support UK universities, but as I was telling you before, there are many institutions from around the world that are doing this. So we're not only doing this to, to support UK universities. We would like to create the current framework for universities from around the world, be it Malaysia, be it Thailand, be it in Australia, be it in the US, be it in Canada, to be able to operate here in partnership with local institutions and provide more opportunities for young.
Talking about the education and skill, now TNE, does it only provides the academic education, or it also transfers skills to the students they are enrolled with?
Yeah, I mean, the concept of UK education in particular is outcome-based education. So it's not only about passing content or knowledge and making an exam. It's actually about creating a more holistic approach to education. So you need to develop soft skills as part of that, like teamwork, like leadership, like presenting and pitching opportunities to funders and so on. So yeah, it's much more than just passing knowledge. It is about preparing you for what you're going to see in the real world.
Okay. Now let's come to the personal points or personal things. So it's been already 3 years in Nepal. How do you like Nepal?
Oh my God. I love Nepal. Nepal, mero manta Nepali ho. It's Nepal is like a second home to me. I've had the most amazing time here with my family. Okay. I have two kids and my wife, and we've enjoyed so much Nepal. We're very sad that we may have to leave very soon.
Have you encountered some kind of incident that, like, you also look like Nepali people, so people, do they come to you and speak in Nepali also?
Right, so yeah. So this was my journey to realize that I look very Nepali is in the taxis. Okay. When I jump into a taxi, the first thing people say is that they talk to me in Nepali. And at the start, I didn't know anything, so I would say like, sorry, I don't speak Nepali. But little by little, I started picking up words like asur, or has, or like la, right? Not even words, but just expressions. And then they realized that I look Nepali and that I was speaking a little bit of Nepali, and they continued to speak to me in Nepali. And it could continue for 5-10 minutes until they realized that I was in Nepali. So for me, it was very, very, very you know, funny to realize that I look very Nepali, but you see, every single time someone tells me, oh, you look very Nepali, I tell them, well, actually, you look very Mexican.
Yeah. Yeah. So, can you share some, you know, the interesting moments that you have had while living in Nepal, or the thing that you want to share with our audience, that why you love Nepal, something?
Why do I love Nepal? I think I take, you know, mainly 2-3 things from my time in Nepal. One, obviously, I cannot go without saying that the mountains. You know, for me, the mountains are just incredible. I spend so much time there. Every season I'm there. Langtang in particular is my favorite place in all of Nepal, and it's just stunning. It's an amazing treasure that you have here, and you have to take care of. The second is the people. You know, people are very, very gentle, very genuine, and very caring for each other. In particular, families. So the concept of family in Nepal is so strong, and that is very similar to Mexico. Mexican families are exactly like that. We like to get together, we stick together, we share together, especially around food. And the third one, I would say, is the attitude towards life. Nepalis are relaxed.
Yeah.
You know, it's an attitude that allows you to live life and enjoy life, and instead of worrying about too much everything that happens on a daily basis, you enjoy life and you care for each other. Those three I just take back.
Okay. I've heard that you are very fond of Nepali music also. What kind of music do you listen?
I mean, Nepali music, in general, I love. I actually think there's quite a lot of talent in terms of music in Nepal. I've had the most amazing experiences with many. I myself have a band here in Nepal.
You have band? You also play?
Yeah, with some Nepali friends.
Okay.
We're called Mantra Muchachos. And we play stuff like kirtan and bhajan and that kind of thing from different religious denominations from around the world. But I am a rocker at heart. And so my favorite band in Nepal is Cobweb, and also Mukti and Revival.
Mukti and Revival.
Those two are
They are the legends, you know.
Yeah. They're amazing. So I often listen to all of their music at home.
Any favorite song of them?
Yeah. So Mercedes-Benz is the one.
Mercedes-Benz.
Cobweb, the one I always sing. A friend introduced it to me, and I cannot stop playing it. Marioni. It's also a really, really good one. And Chau Bandi Cholo.
Chau Bandi Cholo, Nakama Zum.
Yeah. Those three are my favorite,
So you are also a very passionate runner. I've learned about you that you are also a cyclist, and you also like to go for trek. So where have you been in Nepal in context of cycling, running, or trekking?
Oh, everywhere. Yeah. Yes, I mean, I think the only one that I haven't been is the Manaslu area. But apart from that, you know, Khumbu and Solukhumbu and Langtang and Nanapurna region and so on. In Langtang, I'm there every year, maybe twice a year. I love going there. Cycling, I just take my bicycle and I go everywhere here, that, you know, as far as I can get to.
You love uphill or downhill?
Both. But see, here in Nepal, people love mountain bike. I do gravel, which is, you know, like a small, shorter version, and it allows me to go far. So one particular I like is, I live in my house, which is in Budanilkanta, Narayantan, and I go to Nagarkot, and then I come back, same morning. I go there, take a cup of tea, watching the mountains, and then I come back by 10 a.m. I'm already at home. That's lovely.
You, as you just said, that you are attracted by the mountains. Have you gone to the Tarai fields and look at that life of the Tarai also?
Yeah, of course. And that it's also beautiful and gorgeous. I I just grew up. I was born in mountains, I grew up in mountains, so that's my fascination.
Okay, now we have almost come to the end of our program. So before we wrap up, do you want to say anything about the TNE and the youth who are looking to pursue a degree in their own land rather than going abroad? So any suggestion or any messages towards them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the aspiration, there is a social aspiration from parents, from families, from students. Obviously, students, young people, they grow up listening to this very big ambition of going abroad. Go abroad. That's where you will make it.
Because nothing in Nepal.
There is nothing else, right? Because in Nepal, nothing is going to happen. And I would actually strongly challenge that. I would strongly challenge that. Of course, going abroad, I'm not going to say don't go abroad. Of course, if you have the opportunity and you have the means, by all means, take it. Take it and go abroad. But if that comes at a cost of having to, get all of your family indebted, with a huge debt, if that comes at a cost where you're not adapting to that context internationally because you haven't developed the skills, you're not ready for that step. Or if it's only because someone else says that, it's because the family, because the neighbor, because everybody's saying it. There are opportunities in Nepal. There are good opportunities and there is more, there's a lot of appetite. So I'm pretty sure over the next 10, 15, 20 years, this is going to grow. And I have met quite a lot of professionals that have gone through these TNE degrees from different universities from around the world, not only British, and they are doing quite a lot of good work. So I would say think twice, right? Think twice. There are opportunities.
Think twice before you decide,
Yeah, there are opportunities, and research, research everything that it's there. And I would say, obviously, this is an ecosystem of players, and the government plays a really strong role in this. I would say to the government, they are right now, by the way, refreshing their TNE strategy. And we're hoping that that's going to come with very good news. So I would say this is an important thing for Nepal to develop. So make sure that you are creating an enabling framework, whatever that means, right? It could have a quality assurance framework, it could have strings attached, that's fine. But make it an enabling framework for Nepalis.
Thank you, Mr. Salvador, for giving a brief about TNE and all the insights. And the main thing was that the positive attitude towards our youth. Thank you for your time, and we are very pleased to have you in our studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste. उहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो साल्भाडोर लोपेज कार्बाजाल र उहाँ यो रिजनल डाइरेक्टर एजुकेसन साउथ एसिया ब्रिटिश काउन्सिल र आज हामीले कुराकानी गऱ्यौँ यो अन्तर्देशीय शिक्षा हुन त विदेश जाने रहर कसलाई नहोला सकिन्छ भने जाँदा पनि भयो सिप र दक्षता सिक्नका लागि तर होइन सकिन्न भने देशमै बसेर पनि विदेशका युनिभर्सिटीहरूबाट तपाईले डिग्री लिन सक्नुहुन्छ भन्ने कुराको जानकारी आज हामीले कार्यक्रमबाट गरायौँ ब्रेन ड्रेनलाई रोक्नलाई पनि सायद यो सबभन्दा राम्रो उपाय हुन सक्छ यस्तै कुराहरू लिएर हामी भोलि बिहान फेरि आउने छौं तपाई कान्तिपुर टेलिभिजन हेर्दै गर्नुहोला आजको लागि गुड मर्निङ नेपालको समय सकिएको छ यहाँहरुको दिन शुभ बितोस् नमस्ते